This is Red Carpet Fly's News on the Fly podcast, bringing you unique and interesting entertainment, celebrity, and luxury news. Before we get started, you know what to do. Like, follow, and subscribe to Red Carpet Fly, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single News on the Fly episode. Let's get into these headlines. So the other night I was watching YouTube like I usually do, and I stumbled across this interview with Blue Williams. He was on this podcast/YouTube video called The God Show. Shout out to The God Show and other independent outlets that are creating interesting hip-hop and pop culture content. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Blue Williams, he was the manager for acts such as Outkast, CeeLo Green, Jodeci, Nick Cannon, Eric Benet, Macy Gray, Nas, Faith Evans, Big Sean, and many others. So he's a big deal. Anyway, in this interview, Blue states that when he first met Outkast and became their manager, he didn't know what they were saying. Like, he literally couldn't understand the words coming out of their mouth. He states, there was a complete language barrier. I didn't know what the F nobody was talking about. I would sit in the room some days and I'd be looking around like, I don't know what the F y'all talking about, but okay, we'll figure it out later, because it was like a different language, really. This is so funny to me because if you aren't familiar with how people talk in the South, and I mean slang, it can be very difficult. When I go to Atlanta and hang out with my cousins, sometimes I'd be missing information because not only do I have to get used to the accent, but I also have to get used to the terminology. And that brings me to my bigger point about if you have something to say, make sure that you can communicate your message clearly. You may think you speak clearly until you have to do something on a bigger platform or for a broader audience, and then you realize that you don't speak English so well. I often have to re-record this podcast because I have a tendency to talk very fast and my words tend to blend together. If I want y'all to understand me, I gotta slow down and enunciate my words because I got a lot to say. And just like I don't understand my family in ATL sometimes, they don't be understanding me sometimes. My grandmother often says that when I'm speaking to her, she knows I'm saying something, but she doesn't know what it is. And this doesn't only happen with Southern accents. It also happens with the pitch of your voice. My homegirl back in New York, she has 3 daughters, one of which I'm the godmother, and they, including the mother, speak in a very high-pitched voice, as do I. So when we all get together, I've been told that no one can understand us because we are speaking very fast, but also because our voices are so high. My friend Mark says it sounds like a bunch of squeaks. Now, I don't know about all that, but you get the drift. Have you guys ever run into this situation? I also have this problem when I speak to some of my friends in London. When they start speaking really fast, I don't understand ish they're saying. I'm like, text me, because what you guys are saying is getting lost in translation. Anyway, this is a really good interview, and it gives you the behind the scenes of the music industry and some of hip-hop history. Again, the podcast/YouTube channel is called The God Show. Make sure you check them out. So, it's official. Girls Trip 2 is happening. The full cast will reunite for an adventure in Ghana. Did you guys see the first Girls Trip movie? It was a really feel-good movie, so I'm really happy that they're doing a sequel. Anyway, according to Baller Alert, the highly anticipated sequel to Girls Trip is on the way, and they will be taking their escapades to Ghana this time. Tracy Oliver, who co-wrote the movie with Kenya Barris, confirmed the exciting news in an interview with Variety at the Sundance Film Festival. Oliver also said that the producer, Will Packer, might kill me for sharing the possible location for the sequel. Regina Hall, Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett-Smith, and Tiffany Haddish will all reprise their roles in the acclaimed film. Oliver revealed that the sequel would follow the ladies in the West African country as they potentially attend the Afrochella Festival, Ghana's annual cultural and music event that mimics Coachella. Just a side note, Afrochella has really been picking up. I just heard about it because I think Kendrick Lamar was there and he brought out Dave Chappelle, and there was a whole thing about people booing Dave Chappelle. I mean, go look it up, guys. I'm not going to get into all of that because TMZ covered it. But Afrochella is really picking up, and then this is like my 3rd or 4th time hearing about it. So I think I'm going to have to check that out. Anyway, while it appears there is no definitive timeline yet, Oliver revealed that she is still crafting the script, but the film is indeed happening. It's officially happening, I can say that, Oliver said. And while this is exciting news, not everyone is happy that everyone from the Outkast will be reuniting. Tiffany Haddish has been receiving some backlash over reprising her role. Fans haven't forgotten about a Jane Doe accusing the comedian Haddish of child sexual abuse in a 2022 lawsuit, which was dismissed. AllHipHop.com reports that the return of Tiffany Haddish did not sit well with many social media users. Twitter was filled with outrage and jokes about her appearing in Girls Trip 2. Some fans expressed their disinterest in the sequel due to the comedian's involvement. Others called for her role to be recast. Just to refresh your memories, a Jane Doe sued Tiffany Haddish and Aries Spears in 2022, accusing the two of child molestation and grooming. The lawsuit brought attention to an old sketch titled Through a Pedophile's Eyes, starring the two comedians. The skit featured Jane Doe's younger brother, who was 7 years old at the time. Haddish said that she regretted appearing in the video. Jane Doe dropped her lawsuit a few weeks after filing it. Do you guys want to see Tiffany Haddish in Girls Trip 2, or is the whole Jane Doe issue a turnoff for you? To me, if Jane Doe was able to drop the charges and forgive Haddish, I think we should be able to do that too, right? Comment below and let me know your thoughts about this situation. Lastly, do you know that last year broke the record for the most amount of champagne guzzled? That's right, 326 million bottles of champagne were consumed in 2022. According to Luxury Launches, the numbers were released by Comité Champagne. Okay guys, don't kill me for this. A lot of this stuff is French, and I don't speak French, so just bear with me. Continuing on. However, while positive, the figures are lower than the expected outcome for 2022. And there are a few reasons for this. One, because the shipments in 2022 were restricted by supply, with shortages resulting from growing demand during a time of reduced output from the region. And two, fearing a global drop in demand for champagne during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, grape harvests in 2020 were limited by the Comité Interprofessionnel des Vins Champagne, the trade group representing champagne growers and producers. The 20% mandatory decrease in quantity was enacted to prevent a glut of champagne during the potential market slump, which, as we now know, did not occur. Wine lovers drank more during the pandemic than ever before, causing an increase in sales of 64% from 2020 to 2021, which continued sales growth in 2022, reports the Robb Report. Because of these factors, there is a cautious optimism for 2023. Non-vintage champagne is made with base wines from several vintages, and due to the regulated decrease in production in 2022, followed by a lower than normal harvest in 2021 due to weather conditions, this has led to a reduction in base wine stores. Without large quantities of prior vintage wine stores and tanks, ongoing production capacity of champagne is limited. So champagne houses have been holding back releases to offer a steady, if reduced, supply going forward. And the escalation in sales overall during the last year means that there may well be less to go around this year and into 2024. However, a strong 2022 harvest helped increase the amount of base wine, but the resulting champagne is at least 2 years away from release. Fun fact, did you guys know that not all sparkling wines are champagne? Only wines that are grown in the Champagne region of France can be officially called champagne. If champagne, and I'm using air quotes here, is grown outside that region, then it's just called sparkling wine. This story is interesting to me for a number of reasons, because there has been a buzz for a while about a global food shortage coming within the next few years. And while this is just champagne and it sounds frivolous, it does make me worry a bit. I get nervous when I hear about shortages, especially in regards to food and beverages. But that's another story altogether. But can you believe people worldwide drink that much champagne and wine? During the global lockdown, did you drink wine or any alcohol? I don't really remember consuming much wine. I gained my COVID weight through eating carbs. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. If you'd like to receive text notifications of when I post my News on the Fly episodes or my celebrity red carpet interviews, please send a text to 917-502-4379 and say, I want to get fly text. Once subscribed, you will start receiving text messages regarding a News on the Fly episode or celebrity interview. Also, if you have a business, product, service, YouTube channel, or social media account that you would like for me to promote on my channel, please email redcarpetfly@alexi@redcarpetfly.com to get rates for advertising. We're growing, guys. You can also find this podcast on Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeart Radio podcast platforms. Just search for Red Carpet Fly News on the Fly podcast. Lastly, please like, follow, subscribe, and share our YouTube channel, Red Carpet Fly, and also follow us on Instagram and Twitter @Red Carpet Fly. And until tomorrow, always stay fly.